I want to thank all the witnesses gathered here today. This is an impressive group of men and women who have important stories to share about their own personal suffering and that of their family members and associates at the hands of both the Chinese government and the Chinese Communist Party. Their experiences must not be viewed in isolation, but rather they are representative of the untold number of other Chinese, Tibetans, and Uyghurs who daily face repression at the hands of their own government. Today I joined our chairman, Representative Smith, in sending a letter to the Chinese ambassador to raise our concern and seek additional information about a spate of detentions involving prominent Chinese human rights advocates, as well as American citizen Sandy Fawn Gillis, who's been arbitrarily detained for 21 months now. I submit a copy of that correspondence for the record. Before going any further, I'd also like to take a moment at this hearing, the last CECC hearing of the 114th Congress, to recognize Chairman Smith for his capable and principled leadership of the Commission. He is an unrelenting advocate for human rights and rule of law everywhere in the world, and especially in China, and I look forward to continuing to partner with him in the new Congress because, as today's testimony will no doubt make clear, the mandate and the mission of this Commission remains as vital as ever. The Commission, as you just heard a moment ago, recently released the annual report, and it painted an undeniably bleak picture regarding the deterioration of human rights and the rule of law in China, with especially grave consequences for civil society, religious believers, human rights lawyers, and labor activists. Since the report's release in October of this year, those abuses have continued apace in the last 2 months. As the report documents and as news stories from the last several weeks underscore, Beijing has become increasingly brazen in exerting its extraterritorial reach. This was especially true in the outrageous abductions of the Hong Kong bookseller last year, including Swedish national Gui Minhai, who is still being held by Chinese authorities at an undisclosed location, and now more recently in China's unprecedented intervention in Hong Kong's legal system in the cases surrounding 2 democratically elected politicians who won seats in the Legislative Council on platforms calling for democratic self-determination for Hong Kong. The ripple effects of this ruling are not fully known yet, as the Hong Kong government has now taken additional steps targeting opposition lawmakers. This is gravely concerning and something which the Commission and the Congress will be watching closely in the coming year, especially as it relates to the Hong Kong Policy Act. Returning to the focus of today's hearing, we are at a critical juncture in U.S.-China relations, and there is much wisdom to be gleaned for the incoming administration from dissident voices. December will mark 15 years since China gained entry into the World Trade Organization. It is past time to take stock of our approach and recognize that despite what proponents at the time believed would happen, China has in fact used the international rules-based system to fuel vast economic growth while further restricting freedom and increasing repression. Quite simply, many of the principles which have undergirded U.S.-China relations during Democrat and Republican administrations alike in recent decades have simply not yielded the desired outcomes. A perennial critique from those who care about human rights issues has been that the U.S. foreign policy apparatus risks ghettotizing human rights concerns, only giving them the prominence they merit during infrequent and often ineffective human rights dialogues, and then relegating these issues to the sidelines in high-level bilateral engagement. The Obama administration struggled to integrate human rights issues at the highest level, sending unmistakable signals early on, as was famously reported during then-Secretary Clinton's inaugural trip to China in 2009, that human rights issues, quote, can't interfere with the global economic crisis, the global climate change crisis, and the security crisis, unquote. Words have consequences. Mid-level appointees at the State Department and elsewhere take them to heart. As such, it will be critical during the early days of the new administration for the Secretary and other senior diplomats to put down markers on these issues, which are of central importance not only to the Chinese people, but to U.S. national interests. For as history has shown us, where rule of law fails to take root, where human rights abuses are committed with impunity, where international obligations are violated, the U.S. should not expect to find a responsible global stakeholder. I look forward to hearing from our witnesses on this important topic. Today's hearing was scheduled to coincide with the commemoration of Human Rights Day this weekend, and also with the 6th anniversary of the awarding of the Nobel Peace Prize to Chinese dissident and writer Liu Xiaobo, an honor that he has not been able to rightfully claim, given that still today he languishes unjustly in prison, serving an 11-year sentence handed down for his essays criticizing the Chinese government. The U.S. must commit anew to standing with China's reformers and dissidents, embracing their aspirations, and consistently pressing the Chinese government and its Communist Party to respect basic human rights and uphold the rule of law. It is my hope that this new administration will appoint an ambassador to China that reflects these priorities, not simply someone that's going there to catch up with old friends. And I look forward to today's testimony and to today's policy recommendations. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just as a note, the Senate is in the midst of a series of votes. I know it's shocking. The Senate is voting today, but so I'm going to take my second vote and try to get back here as quickly as possible. Thank you, Chairman.
I want to thank the co-chair for his leadership over the last 2 years and really during the entirety of his tenure in the United States Senate on behalf of human rights everywhere, including and especially in China. And next Congress, God willing, you will serve as chair, and the commission could not be in better hands. You are just an extraordinary leader.